My name is Damon with Complete Media. I appreciate you coming and rocking with me one more time. We provide photography, videography, DJ, photo booth, lighting, audio-visual equipment like microphones and speaker rentals and projectors and screens for weddings and other events. Since I love doing weddings and since I love watching court shows so much, I decided that I am going to watch court shows about weddings. This one is Judge Judy, and what I did was I took one of her 3-parters and I condensed them down into one video. And this is what's called Bummed Out Bride Sues Caterer. Wonder what that's about. It says Giddy catered Raina's wedding, but the bride and her mom were not happy with it. That's all the information we got. I hope that Judge Judy does not give me any type of copyright strikes or anything like that, because this is fair use. Please treat it as such. Leave those copyright strikes to yourself. I am not a lawyer. This is not legal advice. But what I am is a business owner. And the business that I am in is the wedding business. And so this is near and dear to my heart. I want to react as a business owner and someone who was in the wedding industry of someone else in the wedding industry that has a lawsuit against them for services rendered. Every time I do a reaction of a Judge Judy video, they come and claim that I am infringing on their IP. But since this is a reaction, it's fair use, and I'm not going to say it anymore. So please leave me alone. You know who I am now. I've done a lot of your videos.
Whose wedding was it? Yours?
It's my wedding.
Wow, it goes right into it.
Hoffman Benbow.
Doesn't even do the
signed the contract.
Normally it goes right into like the
here's the plaintiff, and they are suing for this, and here's the defendant, and they say that your claim is bullshit.
But they didn't do that. They were just going right into it. I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting the lead up, but no, we're going right into the main course.
Whose wedding was it? Yours?
It's my wedding, yeah.
And your last name?
Hoffman Benbow.
Who signed the contract? You or your mother?
We
Sorry.
both did.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, let's see that contract.
We don't have the signed copy. We have just a copy without our signature.
There is no signing contract. They're supposed to sign it and send it over for me, but they never done it.
So then don't do the service.
They're supposed to sign it and send it back. They never signed it. So, yeah. So then you don't have a contract. Now, I'm sure lawyers out there, hopefully some lawyers are watching my channel and hear me F up the law all over the place. My understanding is, say you go back and forth, contract number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you finally come up with an understanding, and then they pay after contract number 5 goes out. And that means that contract number 5 is the valid one. It's an understanding. Again, lawyers out there, help me if I'm wrong. I know I'm close, but since I'm not a lawyer and I didn't pass the bar and didn't even go to law school, this is not legal advice, but that's my understanding of it. And then if you have contract number 6 doesn't mean hope, because you have to sign contract number 6 for it to be a valid change.
I'll take a look at it. If it's an unsigned contract, it's not a contract.
No signed contract. No.
Okay. Where did you get this from?
From her.
Miss Harper.
Did you prepare this?
Yes.
How many guests?
160.
So you had 40 more guests than you should have.
We paid for 158 exactly.
So you had 160 people, and you paid for 158.
Right.
They had more than 160. It was 180 people.
No. We had 158 people. Was the exact number.
Whatever. You had you
160.
had more people
Yes.
than you paid for.
No. We paid for the extra people.
How?
Just a second, you
$41
said
a
you
person.
paid for 158 people.
That's right.
Yes.
We had
And
100.
you just told me you had 160.
I was rounding up. I'm sorry. It was
No, we don't
150.
round.
How are you?
It was
We're
actually
going through-
probably less.
Shh. We're going through this piece of paper.
Okay.
Beginning Saturday, July 1st at 5 p.m. wedding, okay?
Yes.
Were you there at 5 o'clock?
Yes, before 5 o'clock.
And what time were you supposed to be there to set up?
4 o'clock.
Do you have any emails to that? Because it doesn't say that here.
No.
We do.
No.
4 o'clock. If you're a caterer, I would hope you would be there before an hour prior. I don't know how much setting up you need to do. I don't know if things are prepared beforehand, but an hour prior for a caterer seems to be cutting it close. Normally, the caterer takes care of the linens on the table, the chargers and the silverware on the table, the glasses on the table. Then they're preparing the food, possibly setting the cake up. That's a lot to do unless you have a ton of people. But even then, that is cutting it close. If any mistakes happen, if you only have 110 utensils, then you're screwed because you don't have enough time to even go back to get anything. So that's cutting it close. That's just my humble advice.
For 3 o'clock.
She was supposed to be there at 3.
Yeah.
And she didn't get there until what time?
5:15.
Wow.
4:45.
So we have a couple
What?
more guests.
So you just said you're supposed to get there at 4. You, Miss Defendant, by your own admission, just said we're supposed to get there at 4 o'clock. That's what you said. Not even 20 seconds prior. Supposed to get there at 4 o'clock. And then the plaintiff says they got there at 5:15. You said, no, I didn't. I got there at 4:45. You're still 45 minutes late. How are you going to prepare anything that's supposed to be ready at 5 o'clock? Get out of here. You lose. Money back. Bye.
You paid for, and she came late to the wedding. So far, that's what I got so far.
Yes. So
Yes.
Your
Okay?
Honor,
Yeah.
You came late.
Write down.
And
That's one thing that I do notice in these court shows. I'm just going to point out. A lot of times the litigants want to either interrupt each other or interrupt the judge, and that's not going to fly in either instance. Usually the judge will say, wait your turn. So what I see a lot of lawyers do is lawyers will write down their questions or their rebuttal. So then when it's their turn, they can speak. But in these court shows and people are just like, Your Honor, I got a question. I want to say something. And like, put your damn hand down, dude. It's not your turn. And then they're like, okay, I'll wait. And then when it's their turn, they probably forgot what they're going to say. Bring a piece of paper and a pen and write down your questions because they're going to tell you to put your hand down. She's suing for a full refund. I'm just going to watch and see.
didn't. You just told me that you didn't. You just told me you paid for 158 and you had 160.
I was
You
rounding.
just told me
I'm
that.
sorry. It was probably more about 155 because a few people didn't show up.
But so what?
I'm sorry.
That doesn't matter. You paid for 160 or 158 people. That's what you said. If 3 people didn't show up, you're not going to get a refund for that part.
That's not true. That's not true. They were 170
Listen, I'm going to
people.
throw you all out.
Yes.
She's like, please throw us out. Please throw us out.
It's going to be very, very simple. We're going to go through these things, and I'm going to see the things that you didn't get that you were supposed to have are worth $5,000 or worth, I wouldn't recommend her again. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Great. First of all, how much did you pay her in total?
$7,633.36.
Okay, so she's not asking for a full refund.
$633.36. And I have proof of that.
Shh. Did they deliver?
Yes.
Yes.
Buffet
Okay.
dinner?
Yes.
Yes.
Set up?
No.
Service?
No.
No service.
Your Honor,
Just shh.
Be quiet, dude. Write it
Service.
down.
No.
How many people did she provide for service? Herself and how many others?
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Okay, she had 4 other people with.
That's what I want to know.
Okay.
They weren't serving.
I
What
don't
were they
care What
doing?
they were doing. Then you say,
Your Honor,
she-
6 of us was
Listen to me carefully. If you
Right.
interrupt again, the way I'm going to deal with you is I'm just going to dismiss your counterclaim without hearing it. Do you understand?
There we go.
I'm sorry.
That's going to be it. She brought service with her.
Yes.
Is it specify here how many people she would bring in service? The answer is no.
No.
She provided yogurt cucumber, baba ganoush, pita bread, lavash bread, pita chips, beef kebab, chicken kebab breasts and thighs, mixed rice, beans, ground meat, tomato sauce,
she did a lot.
salads, Greek salad, sour pickles, bread, whole lamb will be designed by Red Rose Catering, a 45-pound whole
my
lamb
gosh.
baked in the oven,
Wow.
cut and served by our professional staff.
Just a quick question that I am really, I just don't know. A 45-pound whole lamb will fit in an oven, or is it a specially designed oven? That's part 1. Here's part 2.
Did she provide a lamb? Who cut it?
They did.
Cut by the staff. Now we're down to, we've gone through 1, 2, 3. We're down to number 4. Drink station, provide by client. Open throughout the entire event, includes beer, wine, soft drinks, served by Red Rose staff. Did you provide a bartender?
Yes, Your Honor.
No. No.
Okay. They say you did not provide. Who tended bar?
I did, Your Honor.
Oh,
Great.
what?
They did not provide a bartender. Okay. And you say that there's a part here about leftovers, that they were supposed to provide special request. Who was supposed to
What?
provide the
Special
containers
request.
for the leftovers?
We were, and we did.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay. And you say there were no leftovers.
There was 2 containers of a little bit of sauce in each one. There were
Okay,
no
so there
other
were-
leftovers.
And all the Tupperware were
just
gone.
Shh. So there were 2 containers of
So
leftovers.
she provided the leftovers,
and the other
right?
Containers that you brought
Okay.
were gone.
Yes.
Indicating you don't have to be a sleuth to say somebody else took home some of the
Yes.
leftovers. You don't know whether it was them or one of your 160 guests.
No.
We know
Right.
it wasn't our guest.
You don't know.
No, you.
No, it was not. They were gone before the end
Just
of the
listen
wedding.
to me. You don't know
Put your
if
hand
it was
down.
them or put your. Don't interrupt me.
Told you. I said
The
it. I
problem
can
is,
read your
Harper, is so
mind,
far,
Miss
you're
Judy.
not losing.
They originally told us $29
The
a
problem
person.
was that the food came so late that people were drunk, weren't able to eat.
Really?
And we never got the.
I am a lot confused. I was a little confused for a split second, but I'm a lot confused. People were drunk and they couldn't eat. Let's say you've been out at night. Let's say it's 1 or 2 or 3 in the morning for whatever reason. And you say, I'm a little hungry. I want something to eat. I am going to go to a fast food restaurant so that I can get something to eat. And you go to that fast food restaurant and the line is around the block. Why is that? Do you think that's because the people coming from the club that were drunk want some food and want to eat? Or do you think that it's people like you that are just out and about at 3 in the morning and just decide that I'm hungry for no other reason than just to be hungry? That makes 0 sense. When people are drunk, they want to eat. So what you're saying is total horseshit, lady.
The appetizers were served with dinner
Fine.
instead of with our
Very
meal.
good.
So
Let's
the
what you
appetizers were
say. I
served.
wasn't satisfied with your service.
What we don't want to pay for is the service because we don't feel that we got the service.
I don't care what your feelings are. Where do you come from?
From San Francisco.
From San Francisco. They care a lot in San Francisco about feelings.
Ooh, man.
I, on the other hand, deal with practicality.
Okay.
Practicality is the bride wasn't satisfied with the wedding, and she'll never have to think about using another caterer again, hopefully. She wasn't happy with this caterer, and you weren't happy with the service. Wasn't sufficient service. She brought 4 people. You just told me she brought 4 people.
But they didn't do it. They were sitting
They
in the
didn't
back
do anything.
skewers,
Wait,
not
okay,
coming to the
But they're
table.
working? But were they working?
You're not
Were they
getting
working?
it. You're not
Were they
getting, you're
working?
not getting any money back.
Your Honor, after she called me 5 days later after the wedding, after they ate my food and
No.
they were all happy, she threatened me and she told me, if you don't pay me $5,000, I'm going to go and write the Yelp. And I have the email in here.
Okay,
and I'm
but
going to
that's-
write about you.
Okay, she can-
And I'm like,
I'd like to see the email.
yes.
I want to see the email.
I don't know. I don't know if that's
And I'm
really
like-
an illegal.
You already ate the food.
I
and you
don't know if that's
were
illegal
happy.
though. I mean, or
Well, you do say there was a bartender. You refer to him
Oh.
as, I won't use the word you used in here, but you refer to him as a lousy bartender, but you say there was a bartender there.
It was, yes.
Just
Your Honor.
You say, this is what you say in your email.
That was like after George did it for 2 hours. He came back there and just sat on a bench. He didn't do anything.
Listen to me.
which one is it?
I
Which
said,
one
was
is it?
there a bartender? You said
No.
no. You say in here there was a bartender, but you didn't like him.
No, Your Honor, may I say something?
No.
I love it. Be quiet,
I mean,
dude.
don't buy into this nonsense. Do you understand? If you go to a restaurant and you have a meal and you don't like it, you don't go back to the restaurant. And you don't recommend the restaurant. You had a wedding. You did get married, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And she did provide all the food that I outlined.
She did.
Good, great, we're done. And you're allowed to have a comment. It could be positive, it could be
Yes.
negative. This is not extortion. If what you're suggesting it was an extortion, it's not extortion. What she's saying to you is, I'm not satisfied with the wedding.
That's
I'm
what I
not
thought.
satisfied that you came late. I'm not satisfying that you had a lousy bartender. I'm not satisfying that we had to cut our own cake. I'm not satisfied,
Oh,
and we didn't
okay.
have enough leftovers of your food. I'm not satisfied with all of that. It'll make me feel better if you give me back $3,000. Unless you do, I'm going to write a bad comment about your business. You said I'm not giving you any money back. I fed you. I fed your guests.
Yep.
I brought service with me. Maybe they were inexperienced. But it doesn't say anything about experienced service in the contract. It says service. That's unfortunate. That means
Well,
you
that's a
don't
good
recommend
point.
them
That's a
again.
good point. Good point.
Courts aren't in the feelings business. Your cases are dismissed. We're done.
That was the Bummed Bride Sues Caterer, part 1, 2, and 3, all condensed into one big video. She made a good point about the experience part, but then at the same time, what is experience? You did a wedding last week and you have a wedding this week, and this week is your second wedding, so you have experience. You have one wedding experience. So you have experience. Other than that, if you've never done a wedding before, then that would be that you have no experience. So what is experienced staff? Now, if she wants to be a little bit more specific, they can say, minimum of 5 years experience or minimum of 10 wedding experience or something like that. That makes more sense than just saying experienced staff. The other thing that she kept harping on was there was no bartender. And even Judge Judy picked up on that. She was like, you said there was no bartender. Oh, well, he wasn't doing anything. But he was a bartender. You're saying he wasn't there. Now, granted, I'm not saying that they don't have a right to be upset that they brought somebody in who's not doing the work, but to say that there wasn't a bartender is incorrect. And credibility is everything with the judge. So if you say there was no bartender and then she finds out that you wrote an email that says your bartender was a piece of shit, then you said that there was a bartender there. And then later on, she's like, it was a
Drunk mess.
That is very confusing for me because first they had a bartender who was sitting back not doing anything, so you say, and then you brought your witness there who said he was the bartender. So this drunk mess, who is responsible for that? Is it their bartender or your bartender? Because they got drunk by somebody making them drinks. And then the last thing that I'm going to point out is the fact that you can write a review on anybody. As long as it's true, then you have an affirmative defense. You don't have to worry about it. If you believe that someone was under the influence of a controlled substance, then you can say that if you reasonably believe that. If you saw that, they were, stumbling around or their words were slurred or whatever else reasoning that you would have to say that this person was under this controlled substance, then you can say that if you believe it to be true. But if there was a video that I did where the photographer sued the clients for not only making false claims online, but conspiring against them and getting others to conspire against them and saying things that were completely false. One of the statements that just blew my mind was when he said,
"She gave me AIDS. Photos were okay. 2 stars.
I still can't believe that somebody would actually write that. That is insane to me. This, for me, was kind of right on, spot on with what I was thinking was going to happen with Judge Judy. She basically dismissed both claims. The defendant thinking it's extortion when it's not. Basically, the plaintiff is saying, I'm unhappy, and one of two things are going to make me happy, either getting money or telling the world about my experience. Which one do you prefer that I do? And then the defendant comes back and says, well, I'm not going to give you any money. Okay, well then the route to my happiness is now going to be writing a review. I do feel bad for the bride and her mom and their witness that the wedding was such a shit show. It should never be that way. They did mention to, check reviews and make sure that that person is who they say they're going to be and provide what they say they're going to provide. But also, not even that, just look for red flags. If at any point you work with a caterer and the caterer says, I'm going to get there an hour prior to your event to set up everything and do everything and be prepared, I would question that. The other big thing, if you get a contract, sign the contract. And as a business owner, if you send a contract, don't work until they sign the contract, even if they pay the money. Because then it's always going to be a question. Well,
that's not the contract I signed.
That's not what you sent me. That's not what I was paying for. We were talking about.
There's no question when the contract is signed, but when it's not signed, then there's always going to be a question of the validity. Those are just my pointers. Last time I'm going to say this is not legal advice, and I am now going to thank you for rocking with me one more time. My name is Damon with Complete Media. I'm out.